Welcome to Squatchin Holler.
In the mist where the trees lean low, Squatchin Holler's got a tale to show. Whispers creep like a creature's faint howl. Every shadow's got a secret to growl. Monsters rise where the stories are told. Squatchin Holler where the legends are born. Are they here? Are they gone? Who can say? In the holler, the truth just slips away. Huge footprints fade where the creek runs thin. A lantern sways, let the search begin. Rustling leaves, but there's no one near. Is it the wind or the beast you fear? Every echo's a question, every rustle's a clue. Squatchin Holler's got its eyes on you. Monsters rise where the stories are torn. Squatchin Holler where the legends are born. Are they here? Are they gone? Who can say?
And now, with your Squatchin Holler hosts, Roger Williams, Amanda Stowers, and Ashley Range. Remember, this podcast can be downloaded everywhere great podcasts are found. And now the show.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Roger, how's it going?
Good. I want I want to thank everybody for being here, the mods and everybody in chat. Please forgive me my voice. I did a taping of a podcast today. Been talking on the phone, and a couple nights ago decided to clean our fans, and I had dust everywhere, so I've got this coughing issue going on. But
well, it doesn't sound too bad. It doesn't sound too bad on my end, so you're good.
Oh, okay. Thank you. How'd your day go today? You were out in the boonies,
running all over the place like usual. Well, the only thing I do on my days off, it seems like.
Well, y'all, tonight we've got some of Amanda's neighbors, basically.
Yep.
I know a little bit about North Georgia. I know that we've been there a couple of times, and you go the right time of the year with the colors. It's probably, for me, one of the top 5 prettiest regions, in the country.
It really is. It's absolutely gorgeous.
People talk about Gatlinburg and all that, but you go to North Georgia around Clayton and Blue Ridge and all that, it's just, it's beautiful. And it's boogery. So
very boogery, yes.
I'm looking around at all these hollows. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But
yeah.
So our guest tonight, Scott and Sheila Granger, both of them have a lot of police and policing experience. I'll let them explain. And what I find, I don't want to say the word compelling, or I love it that they go do things together.
Mm-hmm.
They've opened a business to kind of combined it, from a fishing guide to Squatch tours and all that. And I met them on I met them at the LBL, and I didn't get to talk to them long because there were so many people there. I was kind of fanboying a little bit, and I didn't. And like, there's people that I talked to later. I'm like, oh, I wish I'd have got to sit down with them. And these two are, I don't know what I said to them, but I was going around and meeting everybody. And so tonight we get to talk to Scott and Sheila, and we should have done it earlier, but I'm glad they're here. And
Me too. I'm glad to have them on. I've enjoyed talking to them all the time when I see them. So let's go ahead and bring them on stage.
so Amanda, Amanda's old buddy's here. So hey y'all, how you doing?
How y'all doing?
Good. I appreciate y'all being here. And one of our goals with this show is to get certain regions out there in other regions and let people know that the boogers, the Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, they exist in other places. And North Georgia, not being there much. When I used to go to Florida, I would go through Atlanta, stay on the main roads or whatever. But Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi and Tennessee and all the Appalachian, it's just it's an incredible place. And
it really is.
I just wish everybody could experience some of the areas. We do know that that it's getting traction more with more shows and more of the internet, YouTube and all that. People are starting to learn about these hot spots, but there's also hot spots that nobody knows about.
That's very true.
Right?
Yeah. So,
and sometimes that's for a good reason too.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. We know some of the same people, and you'll hear they're like, "Oh, I want to go to so and so's, and I want to investigate." And you feel sometimes you don't want to tell people where you've been because you don't want them to get hurt. So, is that something y'all think about when you take people out for the first time? And
of course.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's I think it's great what y'all are doing. So tell us, is Squatch-Fishing Outfitters?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it get? Yeah,
Yes.
I sit behind y'all. Check that out.
I was like, can you see it?
Yeah, I do that. I'm pointing all over, and I'm not in the right spot.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I got their socials plugged here in the comments section for those of you who want to go give them a follow, and I'll try to keep pulling them up here on the screen throughout the show for the people who are watching. But yeah, just look up I can talk this evening. Squatch-Fishing Outfitters on Facebook and TikTok.
Right.
And y'all,
and y'all's TikTok seems to be blowing up here lately too.
Yeah.
It's gone
been
crazy.
doing really good.
And I tell you why, I never realized what a full-time job just that end is.
Yeah.
Ain't it though?
Yep. So how well has it been received? Because a lot of if I get on there, you get comments about my accent and all that, and they ask you questions that don't have anything to do with Bigfoot. Is it going pretty good?
It's going better than we thought it would.
A lot better.
Yeah, I mean we're shocked.
Especially our live.
Yeah.
See, Amanda, I told you we need to do a live on.
I've tried. I know.
It took forever for me to figure because I am not that technical person. I have to call our youngest daughter, and she has to get on there and share the screen. I don't even know how to do all that. She walks me through it.
Roger, that's why I let her do all that stuff.
Well, that's where now we live in an age where they've simplified it enough. We can punch a few buttons and get on. If something goes wrong, I panic, but it's, hold on a second, y'all. Gonna be one of those nights. I apologize. I know I did some Granger studying this week. Watched a few videos, catching up, and Mark Newbill, y'all's buddy, he's doing some documentary style things now that are amazing. I watched this latest one with y'all, and the man that was on there, and if people watch that and don't believe him, something's wrong. I know when y'all talk about things, I've seen, I don't know if it comes from your background. I know I wanted to be a detective at one point, but I wasn't built that way up here because of the things that come along with it. I had the romantic view of showing up, solving a mystery, right? You're not prepared for the heartache and the sights and smells and all that. So I appreciate y'all doing y'all's jobs because I couldn't do it.
Yes, definitely.
Glad
So-
to be done with it.
Yes.
Somebody's got to do it. Yeah. All right. So let's start with this, and then y'all can go whichever way you want to. How does you can tell people if you want to what you both used to do, and how does it help you when you're out looking for clues or signs of Bigfoot?
I think my biggest one, you know, like I say, I was a cop for a little over 20 years. And I think that little, voice in your head, that intuition thing, I think that's what's helped me a lot. Probably caused me to stay out of more trouble than than I wanted. Does that make any sense? So
Yes,
I tell everybody,
absolutely.
you better trust your instincts. Listen to that little voice. When it's time to leave, it's time to leave.
You know,
Yeah,
I've
that
got-
sixth sense is there for a reason.
I've gotten more trouble in my life not listening to it than I have listening to it. So,
It'll get you. Like for me, I've been an outdoorsman, hunting, fished all my life. Been in the woods ever since I was big enough to go, and that part helps me out a lot. But the part about being in law enforcement was the observation,
right,
of things around you. The little. It's not the big things, because the big things are very obvious. It's the little things
right.
that are a little bit out of place. This shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be that way. That type thing.
That's a good point, because the first thing I'm going to do and you're going to do is, if I see a track, I'm going to look for human tracks around. I'm going to look for where, if somebody's trying to fake it. And you know what? I haven't really thought about that. When you say, oh, we found these tracks and it was way out in the middle of nowhere. There's no way to fake them because of the material, because of the terrain. And if you're going to disturb the area, if you're faking it, there's no way not to in some of these places. Right. That's a heck of a point. Let me write that down. I'm gonna because you do it from your standpoint. You're okay. I've got this piece of evidence here, whether it's a tree break, whether it's a bend or a trail, and you talk about the big boy trails where they break high up, or a footprint. I automatically start trying to, the word I guess everybody uses is debunk, because I don't want to take a picture of something and put it out there, and then somebody like you say, well, Roger, you see this over here? Somebody did that because X, Y, Z. And now I would take that. I would, I said, okay, thank y'all. But that's a part of it we don't talk about enough, I think, is
It's really true.
There's no experts.
No, there's no experts in this field by no means.
We trial and error here. We've learned all the wrong ways, or
if it could be done wrong, we have done it.
I'm right there with you. I've messed up more evidence than I've brought back. So
exactly, and and we get sent pictures a lot from different folks and everything. And one gentleman, he sent a picture to us, and it was a great picture. I mean, textbook great. But after blowing it up and studying on it a little bit, I showed it to Sheila, and she took one look at it. She started giggling a little bit when I had to blow it up. You could see it was a double step bear track.
Yeah.
I mean, those claws in the center just give it away.
And those are very common up here.
And that is very common up here.
Yeah.
But my favorite one come from these girls from Squatch-Fishing
He
Outfitters.
tells this story all the time. Every time I want to pollywog him, telling him.
They woke me up from a siesta nap one day, laying in a hammock, and showed me a picture. And I said, oh, where'd y'all find this? And they told me and everything. I said, well, let's go see it. Because they had a picture of the prettiest track you ever wanted to see in your life. I mean, I was ready to carry casting material with me. And we get up there and we get looking at it and get studying on it. And I start laughing. I tell them, I said, girls, this ain't a track. I had women up there ready to whip me. Right.
Had to bust their bubble.
They said, what do you mean that ain't a track? I said, hang on just a second. Look. I got showing it to them. And once I pointed it out to them, they all saw it. And they're like, oh, man, we thought we had the perfect thing. It was actually pig rooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Little pigs up there, they had rooted the prettiest track you ever wanted to see. You get no better.
Yeah. And it's weird, but I'm more scared of a hog in the woods than anything else. Talking about pigs up there.
And can
You
you tell
literally
people?
took the words out of my mouth,
Yeah.
Sheila. I don't know why them hogs scare
They
me
don't
because
play.
they can be vicious.
To the people that don't know, a hog or 2 or 3 hogs can get you down, and you won't exist anymore.
That's
Especially if
right.
they have babies.
Your DNA will be spread all through the woods next couple of days.
Maybe left parts of you will be your teeth.
Yeah.
Like I'll chase a Bigfoot all day long, but a hog, nah, I'm tapping out.
Yeah, and people don't realize also how strong they are. They're just pure muscle. So, I'm too old to climb trees. So and people
You might surprise yourself when one gets after you.
yeah, right. Get one of them tusk in the rear end.
It's called incentive.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because they'll see y'all or me or somebody have a firearm with you, and usually it's something big enough to take care of a hog or something that's goes crazy, and it's not always going to happen, but it can. And I've seen animals, like you said, you walk up with little ones, and you don't necessarily have to shoot them, just kind of shoot in a direction and let the sound, their ears are sensitive. So yeah, when people, it always gets me when, oh, why do y'all have guns? I'm like, well, we always do. I mean, we grew up.
Have you not been in the woods before?
Yeah,
I mean, come on now.
You
I
knew
can't tell you, we've walked up on bears before.
Yeah.
I mean, and the bear will turn around and look at us, and it's just as shocked to see them as we
Yeah.
are. They're like,
Yep.
And we got some bruiser black bears up here now. So I mean, them ones that run in that 500-pound class.
Whew.
I believe
yeah.
it. Especially this time of year, right before hibernation.
That's
I
right.
bet you they're getting to be some chunkers.
this
So-
time of year is active.
So
Yes.
Sheila, if I'm not mistaken, were you the first one to have an encounter?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell the folks in chat and people listening and that'll be listening tomorrow kind of how that happened?
Okay. All right. Well, it was actually September of 2019, and me and Scott and a friend of ours were out hiking. We were in not this part of North Georgia. We were actually over towards Clayton. I'll tell you where we were, in Surris Creek. And it was like 2:00 during the day. We'd done been hiking, scouting out areas, and we decided at the last minute to go up a ridge and look. I'm telling you, I did not have a gun on me, and I usually will, like I say, because of the hogs. I didn't even have my cell phone on me because, we weren't anticipating anything. That's usually when it happens.
That's usually when it happens, right?
That's right. And so I started going on up a ridge, and Scott and our friend stayed behind because they were looking at a tree that something was like rubbing on, like when it was going up the ridge. I went on up there, and I'm looking down at our cars and these little dirt roads, 2-path roads, trying to figure where everything is. And like I say, it was just me up there. Not a lot of foliage on the trees at this time. I heard like a clicking noise, what I think was a clicking noise. And I take a step back, and I look over there about 25 yards away, and I see something. But in your mind, like I tell everybody, you have nothing to liken it to, because I'd never seen one before. I knew it wasn't a bear. But it was standing there. And what got me is the movement, just a little bit of bouncing to the left. And I'm looking, I say, Scott, because I thought they were coming up right behind me. And they're still down the ridge. And this thing's looking at me. I'm looking at him. We have eye contact. No doubt whatsoever. He's bouncing a little bit more. His hands were around a tree, and he was a cinnamon looking color. And when he starts to bounce a little bit more, I say, Scott! And this thing dropped like a puff of smoke. I mean, just instantaneously. And I didn't realize until I ran over there it was on a decline. So if I had, been called out on the radio, I would have said it had been about, before I got over there and seen it was a decline, I would have said about 6.5 foot. But once I got over there, I realized it would be much taller. So they come running up there, and I'm pointing, and I know I'm shaking. It's more adrenaline than anything, because you're going through the file in your head. What did I just see?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, Scott and our friend come up there, and I direct them to the tree. I direct us to the tree.
Yeah. And we don't name our friend because he's passed away.
Okay.
If it wasn't for that, we'd name him. But
Understood.
we get up there, and I tell everybody, because it's so funny to me. Looking at hindsight, it's very funny, because I had my very own personal life-size Tickle Me Elmo. because she was vibrating from her
I'm
chin to
telling
her
you, I've
ankles.
never,
I mean,
and I've been in a lot of adrenaline rush situations, but that was the top.
she told us
You,
what she'd seen and pointed out the tree and where the top of the thing's head was at that tree. So I stayed right there, and her and our friend went over there to it. And when they got over there and they stepped off the backside, where we were at, you really couldn't tell it was a good downcline right there.
Mm-hmm.
They stepped off, and I was like, wow, they went way down. And our buddy's 6'3", and his head wasn't nowhere close to where she told me that thing was. He had to reach up.
But I would have never, honestly, I was looking down at the cars and everything, just looking around. We were about ready to leave. So until I heard that noise and, took that step back and looked to where it come from. So to me, that makes me think that I say it's a he because I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was a he.
mm-hmm.
Obviously it wanted me to see him. And I probably would never seen him had he been right there.
I got a couple questions. Can you explain, do you remember what kind of noise it was?
I think now, after we've done this a lot longer, I think it's that clicking noise they make with their tongue. That's what I think it was, because it was like that sharp, and we've heard it before in the woods, but it's almost like an attention thing, like look over here because something over here is moving. So I don't know, but that's exactly why I looked that direction.
And did it have any particular expression on its face, or was it just?
I didn't feel like, maybe I didn't have enough sense to feel scared. I don't know. Maybe it's just
No, I
shock.
understand.
But he was looking, it was like, it was a mutual, I'm looking at him and he's looking at me. So I don't know if it was curiosity or, hey, there's a woman up there by herself and let me scare the daylights out of her or whatever.
Yeah.
I just tell you, it looked like, it was cinnamon looking color. The face looked like leather or clay. You know what I mean? There was no hair on the face.
Yes.
And that's weird because I guess I was anticipating if I ever saw one that hair would be all over the face. But
all hair, yeah.
Was it a grayish or a tannish color, the skin on the face?
Yes, like to me like old clay, like gray. Yeah. And the shoulders, this shoulder was on this side of the tree, and this shoulder was still on that side of the tree. I mean, like there was no neck, but its head was not. I didn't see like a conical shaped head, and it looked to me more human than I guess I was expecting. Maybe like an apish looking, but that's not what I saw.
Well, I think that's what happens to us. We have, just think if none of us had ever seen one, and then now we're watching TikTok, and that's our first exposure to Bigfoot. I think a lot of people will be shocked. I think they get the size similar, the body proportions are off, and the face is off. But that would be what we would expect. And then when you see, we hear from a lot of people that have up close encounters, the expressions and it looks almost human. It just goes against everything that I thought, because the one I saw, I didn't see the face. So, that Scott, let me ask you this. How long have you known Sheila?
Oh Lord.
100 years.
Okay. That's good.
We actually got together back in 2012, the first part of 2012. And been together ever since.
Yeah.
So the reason I say that, the reason I ask that, people, when you know each other, you know what she's dealt with, all of it, everything about her, more than she probably knows about herself. When she comes to you, when she comes to you and says, Scott, I just saw a Bigfoot, what went through your head?
Oh, I believed her right off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew she had seen something, but she didn't say Bigfoot right then. She just said it was right over there.
I didn't know what to call it.
Yeah. And
you was just calling it it.
Yeah, right at that moment, she didn't say there's a Bigfoot right. She just said it was right over there, and in the shaking and the vibration and everything, I knew what she had seen, but it was still, we were still newer to this at that point in time. And it wasn't a shock to me, on one hand, and on the other hand, it was.
It was a shock to me.
Yeah.
You just wasn't anticipating it. I mean, it was just crazy. I didn't have any kind of weapon or my cell phone. But honestly, I wouldn't have thought about either one of them at that time.
Mm-hmm.
No, we get asked a lot about, why didn't you take a picture or something? And I'm here to tell you, when you lay your eyes on one of these things, especially your very first time, and pretty much every time after that, a picture is really the last thing on your mind. It's not even there.
But believe me, and I went through this scenario 1,000 times in my head, replaying that same scenario. Had it wanted me, rest assured, there would have been nothing I could have done. As fast as that thing moved, he could have been on me in 2 seconds and it'd been over with.
Yeah, because he wasn't 25 yards away from her.
Wow.
Oh, that's too close for comfort.
Yeah. So, have you ever had anything weird in your life happen before that, like paranormal or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to. I just sometimes I try to find connections of why us, and because you have people, I'm sure y'all run up on it all the time. Hey, I want to go fishing with you, but can you carry me? I want to see a Bigfoot. I don't believe in them. I've never had anything happen, and show me one. And that's kind of not how it works, because I feel like they're in control of the situation.
They are.
If they, and I know we sound crazy, y'all, the ones that don't know, but it's just that I found that interesting that you talked about the mouth pop, because a predator that's about to eat you is not going to do that.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? If you see a mountain lion sneaking up on something, they're going as quiet as you don't know that you're got until you're got.
That's right.
So that's why, as being a hunter, like, Scott said earlier, that's what I always go back to. We've had similar things happen, and the thing with the rock throwing, that's not particularly trying to hurt you. I don't think is trying to, like, get out of here. This is our living room. Go on.
Mm-hmm. trying to scoot you on off a little bit.
So I don't know if this is Joe or Jesse, but I want to know what part of Georgia. They do a lot of work in North Georgia.
Yeah, we're in LJ.
Mm-hmm.
LJ.
LJ.
You might as well say Gilmer County. We live in the backwoods.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got y'all backwards for whatever reason. I had y'all in Blairsville for some reason. I guess what? Hi, neighbor. You're even closer to me than I thought.
We're truly between LJ and Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
We're just across the line in Gilmer County to give us an LJ address.
Yeah.
Understand that.
And we like it because we can sit on our front porch. Like the last couple of lives we done is so funny. We're sitting out there and people could hear the howling.
Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That was great.
Have y'all been keeping up with the posts from the museum here lately about the cinnamon colored one there in Cherry Lake?
We do win.
I figured y'all had.
I told Scott, I said, let's go right out there. I'm gonna tell you what's shocking to me is, it's very cozy and everything out there, and there's a lot of cabins, but the amount of windows and the blinds that were, they don't even have a clue.
I mean, just wide open. We're looking at each other like, yeah, these folks don't understand.
Yeah.
Right.
Dinner and a movie.
Yep, dinner and a movie. They just Bigfoot be sitting there in the woods with his rabbit or something, just watching these crazy hairless monkeys.
Roger, you were talking about the rock throwing earlier. There's a person in the chat. It's Flat Rock.
Mm-hmm.
He was out on the trail with us one night, and these people don't understand how hard these things can throw a rock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you throw a granite rock and it's whistling through the air, it's got some velocity on it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Flat Rock was right behind us, me and another guy that was out on the trail, and a rock got thrown at me and the guy that was with me, standing right beside me. Well, it flew right in front of us, and it was whistling when it come by. Hit the embankment and rolled down, and Flat Rock walked right past us, and he picked it up. He says, "Here's that rock that just got thrown."
Saw it.
Oh, he was in the right spot to see it come across.
Yeah. Well, so when the first one happened, usually when people that are curious about how things happen, how things work, and all that, when you have that first encounter, it kind of lights a fire. It's hard to forget. I mean, you're looking in the face of something that's not supposed to exist. So, how did that change you
I
after that?
wanted to believe before, because I mean, I'm telling you, Legend of Bucket Creek was my most, favorite movie in the world. He was the biggest skeptic.
I was.
And, I wanted to see, and then we did go out with another group, on a Bigfoot hunt. And that very first night, that was it. I was hooked. We were both hooked after that because we didn't see anything then, but we heard stuff that just could not be explained. I mean, something walked right up to our tent, to the point where had it touched the tent that night, I would have got up and ran tent and everything. They were all with me. It was that.
And the tent would look like a hamster wheel rolling down the
I
mountain.
would hit a tree and knock myself out, but I've never heard anything like that before. And it's true. If you start down this rabbit hole, you'll always have more questions and you will have answers.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been. But it's, and I'll be honest with you, when we first started out, we was like, okay, we're just going to, concentrate on Bigfoot, nothing else. Forget that too. Throw that out of the window. Because
it all starts blending and mingling together.
It does. It does. Well, we have some friends in common, and one guy, he said, Roger, the more you see, the more you see. And I don't know whether that's they go by your reaction or it's something, some way we're born or made up. I don't know why they're attracted to some people. Now there are different types of encounters. Like if somebody's driving down the road in a quiet car, they come over a rise and they catch one crossing the road or whatever. Or if you're being really quiet on a trail and you got the wind in your favor by accident, not paying attention, but you can come up and maybe it's busy doing something. That's happened. Right. Now when you go out, it's funny. I talk to people that do what y'all do, and we've done it quite a bit. When you have these interactions that, okay, I'm walking down the trail, it's getting close to dark, I'm going to get out of here. But then all of a sudden you hear the rock clacks. Okay. Then you're like, there's nothing doing that. You know the difference between a woodpecker and two rocks clacking together. And and I did an interview today and I told them, yes, we have stories, but yes, we have stuff on audio like you guys, and I have pictures of footprints, but there've been other witnesses, and y'all know from being in police work, the amount of evidence that, okay, if I've got 3 witnesses saying the same thing and I have tracks and I have hair samples and I have audio, how tough would that be to get out of that if you had to go to court? You know what I mean? It's like you got 3 witnesses saying, hey, this is what we saw. And I'm not talking about Bigfoot. I'm just talking about,
right.
Somebody robs a Dollar General and you have all that evidence, man, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. Right. Yeah. So people kind of, they kind of push that aside, but I've only found tracks 4 times, and all 4 times I sounded like a little girl squealing. It's rare. It's very rare. And and to be standing there where one of these creatures has stood is amazing. And I don't think we give, I know people say, oh, you up your game. You're just getting tracks. You're just getting cast. You're just getting audio. I'm like, wait a minute. Just?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, we do.
We know.
There was a comment, we had Kane on last week, and if you watch more than 15 minutes of it, Kane goes in all different directions in his beliefs and stuff and evidence. And apparently this person watched about 10 to 15 minutes, and the comment was like, oh my God, tracks, up your game. I'm like, tell me you didn't watch without saying you didn't watch, but that's,
do you know how much it takes to get a decent track? You want to say up your game? I'm like, You already got plenty of game if you're out there getting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
They didn't watch far enough because,
Yeah.
Kane and them, they track them and trail them for a while.
they
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, the fact that he knows that when they come by his house that the mom stays close, the little one stays in the middle, and the what he thinks is the dad is up high. That's another episode, but it just bringing up the point. I when people say, I heard some tree knocks and alls we heard was a whoop. I'm like, all you is
Yeah,
that
I
all?
mean, I can honestly say now we've had more interaction. Like our first expedition, we were nervous and we were thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a catastrophe, and it was just going to be so, But that first expedition with all the activity we had, and it wasn't, it's not just Scott and I. We had a group of people, and their mouths hit the floor,
Mhm.
And how can you? We didn't hire somebody to be out in the woods where we were,
Right.
because I promise you, it was off the beaten path.
I
I mean,
don't think we could have found anybody to go out there.
no, I mean, these jokers around here like to throw rocks, but I think we lucked out that particular night because, and I'm not telling anybody to do this, but they started throwing these, not the big rocks, the little rocks, the little pebbles. So I had a slingshot. And so they said,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
This
yeah,
gets
I'm
better as it
telling
goes.
you right now, these
Keep
jokers are
talking.
smart. so
So
they was throwing, well, yeah, you got it. That was my slingshot.
so I had no reference to what these pictures were. So I
First
thought
expedition.
maybe these two were related. You were
They are.
slingshot
That's
and
all
baloney. No.
I'm telling you, they started throwing little rocks, and I said, let's see. And I got my little slingshot out and took the little rocks, and I shot the opposite direction. They shoot one way and I shoot. This
Right.
went on for about 20 or 30 minutes.
Wow.
Wow.
It was crazy. And so Scott took a group out hiking down the road, and me and a few girls sat around the campfire. And when they got back, I asked Scott, I said, can you walk with me around? That was my Jeep. I said, see the little girl's room. And I know there was nothing there. We walk around there, and my headlight hits that rock on my fender well. There was no other rocks around like that. It was not thrown. You can see there was no dent, no scratch. So I think it was a little gift for like, hey, thanks for playing with us.
Yeah. That rock's real unique because, like Sheila said, there's no other rocks around that area like that. That was a river rock. As you can tell by the how it's nice and round and everything.
Yeah.
That rock had been rolled in the red clay. It's coated in red clay.
Oh wow, that explains how orange it is in the picture.
Yeah.
Then.
And the area we were in, there's no creek within a mile of that area.
So it's in my curio cabinet to this day.
I don't blame you.
I know, I was so excited.
Well, so is the fingerprints? Is that on your Jeep also?
Those were on Scott's Jeep.
Yeah.
That's the night that we had an expedition going on, and one of our crew members, Haley, actually got to see one run on thermal, and she was about ready to be done. I mean, she was just wanting to get back to where the sitting group was, and she was so worried. She says, "What if they follow us back to base camp?"
Right.
Well, they did, and we always tell people that's in tents, if anything happens, have your key fob ready. Hit that key fob. We'll come.
Mm-hmm.
And we had her sandwiched in between, our two campers. But they did. They came that night, and they ran their finger down her tent. They were slamming the grills, and that's Scott's truck. Next morning, first thing I go walking around vehicles. So you see the fingerprints, and you can see where the fur, was when I pulled it back. And there's beside his truck a footprint.
A big footprint.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with your, I used to have to send off fingerprints that I did to the TBI and FBI. And I don't know if I've ever seen ridges quite like that deep. You think that could part of it be a palm, or did it look like maybe a thumb or finger?
It looked like fingers where he was squatted down, like
right.
And they were greasy. And honestly, I lifted those fingerprints. I have those prints today.
I'm proud. That sounds about right. Yeah, that's cool.
And you just mentioned a small detail right there too. You said they were greasy, and people, I hear that so many times from people who, when they find fingerprints or any prints anywhere, how greasy the oils on their hands or whatever, the natural secretions or
Right.
whatever they have on theirs. So like you said earlier, small details and stuff around you. There's also small details in some of the physical evidence as well
That's
too.
right.
So
There is, and those pictures don't do those prints justice. Those
Mhm.
prints are wider, way wider than my thumb.
Yeah.
wow.
Way
And,
wider.
and the ridges are amazing, actually. The
Mhm.
gap and how deep they are.
Yeah, and you can actually tell that in the shape of them and everything. It's just they're odd.
Yeah, and that to a lot of people that might not seem like much, but the first thing I noticed was the width of the ridges.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we've got I'll show a few pictures of some of your outings so people can see.
That's
Um,
base camp.
Yeah.
That's base camp.
Mhm.
What kind of rules do you have for people? I know you said if you hit the key fob or whatever, you have like meeting points if you get separated and all that, just to be safe. And
Well, we do, but the part of separation is not in our vocabulary.
there you go.
I mean, we
POS.
really don't, because the sitting group, if Sheila's with the sitting group, she's watching everybody, make sure nobody wanders off. If I'm off with a hiking group, I keep everybody, pretty tight and everything. I'm real conscious about that. And that's one of our things we go over with people is we don't get separated. If something happens, something out of the ordinary happens, we're not running. Unless you see me running, then take off.
If you're running, it's real bad news.
Yeah.
And I stress this, to them wholeheartedly. And we always get that one or two people, sometimes they'll ask, well, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And we're like this, your health and well-being is our responsibility while you're with us. And we're going to make sure you're able to leave here just like you came, safe and well.
Yeah. Has anybody ever come in a non-believer and left a believer?
Oh, yes.
yes.
That's the best ones.
Yes. Matter of fact, in that picture where Sheila's shooting a slingshot, the gentleman standing behind her he was another one. He was like me, one of the biggest skeptics in the world.
We were crazy, and
he only came because his wife drug him, about like my wife drug me into this stuff. He actually got to see one before she did.
Oh wow.
That's cool. Yeah. and that's I've seen that happen. And you'll start hearing them whispering, "Go tell them. Go tell them." Look. If you see something, say something right then. Could let us all know, because you need to be on alert just in case. But
and it's so cool out on the hiking group. Same way with the sitting group too. But out on our hiking groups, you don't have to wonder if somebody saw something. I mean, that intake of breath that they make whenever they do see it, it tells you.
Yeah. So what, Scott? I don't necessarily like telling scary stories because we've had all kind of different experiences, but people like to hear the scary stuff. What was there been a time where you thought, why am I doing this? And should I go back?
Yeah. There's been a couple of those times.
I'd say I know of one off the top of my head for sure.
Yeah. That actually the first thing that happened to us was we were in an area and got bluff charged. And the ground off to the left of us on our trail was flat. But on the right hand side of us as we were going up was a pretty good ridge right there. And myself and Sheila and two of our friends were meandering up through this area, and we're talking amongst ourselves and everything. And all of a sudden it sounded like a D9 cat coming off the top of this ridge. And this ridge is thick with mountain laurel. I mean, thick. All of our headlamps shoot up towards that ridge, looking up it, and you can see the mountain laurel parting off
Oh
there.
my
We
gosh.
couldn't see what was doing it, but you could see the mountain laurel part.
It was coming down my side. So when it's almost like you're preparing, like if you see a wreck's about to happen and you know how you lock it down. I was done locked down, like preparing to be just wham.
Just run
Right.
over.
Bracing yourself. Yep.
Yeah.
And it got to within 10 yards of us and just stopped. We don't know if it jumped over top of us or if it come down to a trail and took off down a trail or what, but it just stopped.
And for y'all in that'll listen to this that don't know what a D9 is, it's a bulldozer. So
Big one.
big one, right? So, yeah, and oh man, and y'all, it was dark, right? So you had
It
your
was
headlamp on.
Yeah.
So y'all are braver than I am because I'll do all this stuff, but if I'm out at night, somebody asked me one time, "Now wait a minute, you said you changed the way you do things, but you're out at night." I'm like, "No, I'm not too far from the truck now.
No, we can't say that.
That's just for me. I have a problem with not being able to see what's around me. And I don't know if that comes from me seeing that one so clearly when I was young. And I kind of, turned it into a boogeyman, so to speak. So I changed the way I did things. But if it happened, 5 years ago, it might've been a little different reaction, but, I guess not being able to talk about it and having my own thoughts about it, I probably scared myself more than it actually did. So,
Yeah.
but I admire y'all. Now we do
I agree. Y'all are some brave folks for sure.
I don't know. Talking about those scared times, one of the other most, I was nervous about it, this particular instance, because I had someone else with me.
Right.
And the person I had with me was one of my best friend's son. And we were out on trail. We had something get thrown at us from the right-hand side of the road. And we have our team members that are with us. Everybody has a job when something in particular happens. Well, Nathan's job when something like that happens, he starts scanning behind us and all around us with thermals, making sure we're clear. And he caught one off the left-hand side of the road, probably 30 yards from us, peeking at us over a rock. And it was showing us, his upper torso, shoulders down to about his midsection. And he was eating something. It kept looking like he was eating something. We passed thermals around, let everybody watch this for a while, and because it went on for a good little bit. And after you've watched the same thing, I'm not going to say it's boring because it's never boring. But after you've watched the same thing for a little while, you want something else to happen. And a lot of times I'll walk out with these things and, they'll get up and they'll either run off or walk off or go the other way, and people get the opportunity to see them walk off. And I was getting ready to do that with this one. And my friend's son asked me if he can go with me. And against my better judgment, I let him. But after me and him had a quick conversation. So we walk out here to this rock, and when we look around behind the rock, it's not there. Well, Nathan had already told me that he'd lost sight of it. And I figured it just laid down. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not there, and I'm looking around with my headlamp, which my headlamp's pretty good, but it's not the best in the world, And so I pull out a big light, bright light, and shine up through there, and I start panning around. And when I come on around to about my 1 o'clock area over there he is. He's 15 yards away from us with his back to us, looking at us. I put that light right in his face. Didn't mean to, but I did. He kind of picked his hand up a little bit and kind of just turned his head back away from us and went right back to doing what he was doing. Oh. That's when I got nervous.
Yeah.
Because whatever he had, he wasn't willing to leave. And he was standing his ground. Mm-hmm. And I have my friend's son with me right here. And I leaned over and told him, I said, start easing your way back to the group. I said, don't run. Just ease your way back to the group.
Yep.
Lowered my light down to where I still had light on him, but not directly on him. Just to keep an eye on him for whatever he may do. And we eased on back to the group, and we shuffled everybody off the side of that mountain. But that was a very nervous time.
Do you think, I know this is speculation, but, I have to ask questions. You think you've been there enough that they realize you're not there to hurt them?
Yeah.
I think they recognize us.
I believe they recognize us.
Yeah.
I think the more stories I hear, the more we have people in chat that have them in their area. We have Greg that's learning how to deal with them, and he told an amazing story the other night. He hasn't told it publicly yet, but he had something really close to him a couple days ago. He smelled it. It was, he knew it was a booger. So he started doing real simple hand signals, just to see if he can, you still don't trust him, but just to see if he can like keep that peace, So, that's he's come a long ways. A lot of people, you have to adjust. You can start out with an idea of how these things are, what they aren't, but until you get out there and get a rock thrown at you, or get that bluff charge, or we spooked one last year, and it kind of gave us that like huff growl, like, dang, y'all, you know what I mean? It wasn't threatening. Now I have had that threatening sound, and it's time to go, but I agree with you also. When you have people with you, it intensifies the situation because you feel responsible for their safety.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, some of the people that were with me were better. They could take care of themselves better than I could take care of them. It still worries you.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. At the end of an expedition for us, once that last vehicle cranks up, and leaves, and we're on our own, we get all packed out. When we get home, we are spent.
Yeah, we're done.
I bet.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. The stress
Really
of the worry. Yeah. But how good is it? What kind of feeling you get when, like, you have the guy you talked about earlier that does not believe, sees one, and now what does he do? Right. Like,
No more
that-
deniability.
Yeah, he has no more deniability of it.
Right.
It's a really good feeling
Yeah.
for us, and to get the opportunity and just to have the opportunity to introduce people to this. Even if we don't see anything,
Like his comment.
Yeah.
people all the time, we can't guarantee anything. We can guarantee you two things: we're going to have a good time, and we're going to eat well. Now, them two things we can stand on.
Somebody made that comment earlier. Actually, let's see if I
think it was Flat Rock.
Flat Rock,
Yeah, it was Mr. Flat Rock. Which actually, he had a question a minute ago. I'll pop it up. It says, "Has there been any more thermal captures in any of your expeditions?"
Yes.
Cool.
I try to post a lot of stuff on TikTok, but some stuff I won't, just because it's almost like you want to guard it, because I promise you, as soon as you post something, you're going to have somebody say, "Oh, that's a bear," or you know what I'm saying?
All the skeptics come out of the woodwork.
People, because I wasn't there, they wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah, and that's what I tell people. They rag you for not getting a clear picture, but to get any type of picture is hard. Y'all, I know if you ever heard Greg say, he'll hear people say that and say, "Well, you can go to the zoo and get all the pretty pictures of a tiger you want, but if I throw you in a cage with a tiger, how many pictures are you going to get?"
That's right.
Right.
That's the perfect way to put it.
That is actually a fantastic analogy. I'm going to use that from now on.
And those people are just sitting on the couch, Monday morning quarterbacking what you have, what you went out in the woods to get. But
and the other thing too, if you post something on social media, chances are you're going to see your pictures again somewhere else on the internet.
No, I know. And it happens with everything. It happens with with the material like that. I have an issue and it happens with ideas also. But that's why, for me, at first I was like, well, man, that irritates me a little bit. But then I'm going, you know what? I'm doing this to learn the truth, get the truth out there. So if people are talking about it and stuff, that's fine. But if you take somebody's work because people don't realize, I know people right now that are inventing cameras because of things we figured out to try to catch these things off guard. This stuff is expensive. The thermals are expensive. You take a Jeep and ride back, 10 miles in low gear. That's expensive. They use more gas, right? So everything costs you, and that's okay. What little I do it for fun, for my own thing. And if I happen to catch something, I'll share it. But you're right. I've seen it. There's people in chat that's had it happen to them.
Mhm.
And I don't know if, the people that do it understand.
Yeah.
All you have to do is say, "Hey, I got this from," or send y'all a message. "Hey, can I share this?" but give y'all credit. That's all you have to do, folks.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of pictures that we have, and we have them in a book. And on our expeditions, we pass the book around, let everybody look at them and all. But those pictures we don't put on social media. We don't put them out there for that reason, because the next week you're going to see your pictures cycling the internet.
Yeah. And so, y'all that are listening, when I say there are more pictures and video and audio, case in point, last week after the show was over, Amanda and Ashley and I, we were talking to Kane. We got to see some pretty amazing pictures, did we not?
Mhm.
But he didn't send them to us, right? He showed us
No, it
over
was
the
one of
camera.
those, "Hey, y'all check this out" kind of
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
Shared.
And it's amazing some of the, like, well, let us see their pictures or invite us to their house and the things that we're learning here lately. I mean,
yeah.
it's just been.
Well, once I think y'all have figured this out, once people know you're honest, you're not going to fake anything, and you're really interested, they're glad to talk to you. They're like, "Hey, look what I've had for years here."
Mhm.
I don't know who the guy was that y'all were on the documentary that this latest one that Mark Newbill did.
Mhm.
I was kind of on the edge of my seat listening to him talk because of the things that happened. I would say y'all need to go check that out. Well, do you know what was the name of that one? Do y'all remember?
Oh my
It had
gosh.
a long title.
It did. It's like
It's on.
what if
I got it
was
right here somewhere.
If
she
it
was
was,
got
but it was on the Sawdust Beast channel, right?
Yes,
yes.
it was on
Okay.
Sawdust.
Is
Yeah.
it all right? I'll see if I can't find that real quick and pull it up in the comments for everybody, so they can find
I
it.
mean, most days I have to ask him what's going on.
Yeah. We enjoyed doing that with Mark. I mean, we had a blast doing that and giving him the opportunity to, try to preserve that situation down there in the event he loses it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd known about it for a few
Oh, yeah,
years, and it was crazy the activity he was having.
Yeah.
In the
And,
beginning, when we first
I,
went down there, it was, ooh,
well, and I enjoyed, like all of it, but one part, I mean, I felt it. I've had a home where I knew where every blade of grass was, and then you look out and see everybody say, "Oh, that's a stump." No, that's not a stump because that's where we drive through. I know I keep that place clean, and then he looks it in the eyes, so to speak, or and it's to hear people. Now, I love listening to the scientists. I love listening to the people who do this and document everything, but I don't ever want to push aside the witness part of it.
you're right.
Right.
Because you know it's a scary subject anyway, and most people that have seen them, I mean, Sheila, you weren't thinking about seeing a Bigfoot that day.
No,
If you had been thinking that, you'd had your pistol with you.
I sure would. Well, it wouldn't have done me no good, I'm sure.
I know, right? And that's the thing, y'all. We say stuff like that. One of the most intense things ever happened to us, we set guns down because we'd gotten a situation where like we don't have anything, we're not here to hurt you. So yeah,
No.
you can get in a mess.
I think the name of that thing is "What If Sasquatch is Real and
Mhm.
Developers Encroach on Sasquatch Habitat."
Yeah, it's on
Yeah,
YouTube.
that's right. Yeah, I knew it was a long one.
Mhm.
So y'all have that's a good question. I know I ask people all the time about, like in Alabama, people catch them eating the muscadines and all that with all the peaches. Do y'all have a lot of peaches in North Georgia, or is that more a southern thing?
It's
That's
apple
more of a
cider.
southern thing down.
So,
Yes.
Probably
they
once
like
you get down to like in the Macon middle-ish and South Georgia area. Up here, it's definitely apples.
Yeah.
because I remember going to Florida and coming back. Heather's from Florida, so we get to see the real Florida, the farmland and the orange groves and all that. And coming into Georgia, in that area there's a place that sells peaches and jams and stuff like that. And I'll stop right there every time. But
Okay.
Oh yeah.
but you think about it, we have even, hunting here, Peyton and I, I'm teaching him. He's learned a lot. But you look for food, you look for the acorns this time of year, and you look for persimmons. Do y'all have persimmons down that way?
Yeah.
Y'all do have persimmons?
No, we got those big acorns that scares the bejeebers out of me.
Oh yeah, I got hit in the neck. I got hit in the neck last Friday, and I turned around. I told my son. I thought he hit me with it. It hit so hard, but I'm not saying a Bigfoot did it. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I thought somebody hit me. They hurt.
Our
If it
acorns
hits
are
somebody in the head,
yeah, our acorns are so big this year. I mean, I'm not exact. They're not overcup acorns either.
No,
Things
they're
are just
huge this year. I've got several oak trees here in my yard, and like I said, it sounds like a war's going off whenever they start hitting the roof.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm sure y'all do that. Like if you're out with people that hadn't been hunters and don't get outside, if you hear acorns falling, you can let them know how to tell if you're out there and the leaves are still on the trees and you hear it coming down, hitting the leaves, all that, and versus seeing something come in at an angle and land and skip. So
Right.
that. It amazes me. I guess I spent so much time in the woods. There's a lot of stuff I don't know, but then there's things that I'm like, how do you not know? But some people are tunnel visioned and don't use all their senses.
That's very true.
You know what I mean? So doing the jobs that y'all did, have done, when you're in a stressful situation, sometimes you'll get tunnel vision, and you have to train against that and keep everything going. Your vision, your smell, your hearing, and all that together. And Sheila, you brought up your gut feeling, your instinct too. So I think, at first I was like, why do we see so many former cops doing this? And what little taste I got of it, the first answer might be because you need a place to forget about everything else, get out in the woods or whatever, and then something happens to you and you're curious. So
yeah, I want answers. I'm like, I want answers, but I know I'm never going to have an answer to everything, but it keeps driving us.
It does. It really does. I mean, and I know it's an age-old saying, but once you think you figure one thing out, that'll cause you to have about 5 more questions.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. But
that was my question I was going to ask is, has y'all's opinions on what these things are now, has that ever changed from the very beginning?
Yes.
Or has it kind of remained the same? So,
no, it's changed because once we started, we thought, okay, it's just an animal. It's just an ape. It's flesh and blood, blah, 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 But the things we've seen, there's so much more to it. I mean, there's got to be some kind of, woo to it. I mean, you follow tracks and they disappear. Where do they go?
And they disappear in an area where the trees aren't big enough to support something, for them going up in trees.
Right.
But I wanted to tell y'all, see if any of your viewers have had this happen. We were camping a couple of weeks ago and we had to hike into this area. And this is the first time we've ever had this happen. I don't recommend sleeping in hammocks at all. Just go ahead and burn the brokers. We were sleeping in hammocks.
Bigfoot burritos. Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. But the second night, and I'm telling you, there was nobody around. Scott, I, and Haley got woke up by like a humming, almost like a
drone.
A drone, the humming noise. And I woke up and I looked and I was like, I know that's not our cell phones, and nobody else had any equipment like that running. But we had somebody ask us like a week or two before that, had we ever heard humming that's being reported lately.
And
I've actually heard that. Hold on, let me try to think of what the guy. He's out in California. He's been on a few. I think we have him coming on later. But he's out there in Humboldt County and Bluff Creek and all that. And he made a comment. They call that the Humboldt hum because they hear that quite a bit. I don't know what it could be, but look, you go into this, you go outside, you're outside at midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. There's things that are happening out there, whether it's natural from the land and the water and the energy coming off of that. But there's definitely things, and it may be normal. We just lost that knowledge, but that's good. Yes. If anybody's heard that or kind of knows what it is.
Yeah. 'Cause
That's interesting. I've heard people mention like an electrical type noise along with like grinding or metal scraping and stuff like that. So
We've heard the metal pings
we've heard the metal
before.
pings before, but this is
Mm.
like if you've ever deer hunted like on a power line,
Mhm.
and early in the morning when it's still the dew's falling there, and you hear that buzz sound of those power lines, it's almost kind of like that. Not quite.
Okay. Interesting.
Bigfoot dwarf. If you ever see him in chat, I know his real name, but I'm not going to say it. But you see him in some documentaries and from out west. But there's a lot of people like this comment right here. Remember the couple who reported the rattlesnake bumblebee sound the Bigfoot make. That's and then Kenny here, David Ellis is doing a study on the humming.
Good.
Once that's why we need to talk to each other
Mhm.
because
And Ohio
that-
here says he's heard it 3 times.
that might be something you think may not be related, and it might not be, but it may be something about the area that maybe draws them in. It may be something natural. So yeah, I mean, used to if we were having this conversation 6 years ago, I say this all the time. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But we've heard enough stuff now.
Mhm.
The metallic sound. There's a spot that we go to, and we've walked all over it. We know where the fence lines are. We know who has what, and we hear what sounds like a log chain slapping a gate, like a metal gate, and you can. It's best I can explain it.
It's like a
And
cane now.
it's like yes, and you can tell it. So what I know y'all have heard this. You might never thought about it. On a windy day when a flagpole, when the wire slaps the pole a little bit, it makes that ting.
Mhm.
It's similar to that. It's not all the time.
Mm-mm.
It's in the cooler part of the year.
Interesting.
You know what? That's a good question.
That
That's
is-
a very good question.
That is a good one. Yeah, I just pulled this up. So for the audio listeners, this comment says, could that buzz be related to quartz? And I know that we've had that conversation before about quartz with other stuff, Roger.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. I know.
a lot of ports around the house and where we go up in the mountains here. But
Yeah,
All of
it's-
North Georgia here is just completely inundated with quartz.
yes,
it is. And around our house, we've had things happen around here that's involved quartz rocks. At our motion detector lights, you know how when you weed eat your yard and everything, you know what's in your yard,
Mhm.
Mhm.
especially if you weeded it. And I had already weeded this yard probably a week before this happened. And we have a path that goes down to our creek, and it's about 100-foot drop down in there. And Sheila likes to call it the pet cemetery path.
it's
'cause
real creepy.
It's
real
creepy by itself. But I was walking around back there, and I saw these 2 quartz rocks, not quite the size of a baseball, about 3 foot apart, just sitting there. And I'm like, I know those rocks wasn't there. So I showed them to her, and we're looking at it. We're looking at the lights on the house. And that afternoon or that evening, we walked down the little path a little ways and waited for dusk to come. About the time we knew those lights would activate,
Mhm.
she's watching, I start walking back up. As soon as I get to those rocks, the lights come on.
Mm.
As soon as I got right to them.
Hmm.
And
Could
I
be a-
started laughing. I picked the rocks up, kept them about the same distance apart, moving them forward toward the house about 3 feet. I lay there all night that night waiting for them lights to come on. They never did, but they did the second night.
You trying? That's funny. He's trying to trick the
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
put that as a marker.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't know if it was y'all or maybe the guy that was on that documentary when he was talking about putting some bait out, kind of sorta, and he talked about clearing the ground around it. I had done that before because it's just it. And I'm like, oh, cool. So he's done stuff too that
Mhm.
you try to catch something stepping in to get your treat that you leave them. I have somebody said something about the maybe they're somehow using EMF in some capacity. Okay, so y'all know where Holland is at, right? Holland
Mhm.
Hunter Camp in South Alabama. The last time we were there when we caught the orb, Harley, when he first got there, got his EMF reader out to take a baseline reading. It was double what his spot in East Tennessee is. He said, "Wow, this is like a spike here where I'm from." And of course, we had quartz everywhere. It's all over the top of the ground, under the ground.
Mhm.
And when everything started happening, he was taking readings, and it doubled from that. So it
wow.
was in the
I
80s.
remember talking about that now.
And I don't know anything about EMF, but I know he was surprised at the baseline reading, and he went all over, and he said it's pretty consistent. I was watching the numbers, and I didn't see him do it, but he said while I was filming and cussing because I was scared that he had the EMF thing out, and it doubled from that, so it was around the 70 to 80 range.
Oh wow.
That's
So you're talking
impressive.
about energy. Maybe it is. I talked to a gentleman about the waterfalls and the negative ions and stuff like that, and the quartz. It was over my head, but maybe that is something that we need to look into.
I believe there's some kind of connection.
I do too.
I mean, it's just
I really do, because the two rocks I was talking about there behind the house, we've had quartz rocks left up front of the house for us.
yeah, they've been
in
left
areas.
by the front steps. Big quartz rock, and I knew that rock wasn't there, because it was distinctive. It was a big quartz rock. I would have remembered that, and I walked out and I looked at him. I said, "Did you leave that there?" I mean, it's weird, the stuff. I mean, running back from the pet cemetery path beside the house, slapping the gas tank, hitting the meter box.
Yeah, we couldn't ever figure the meter box out, because before we put the motion detector lights up, we used to get the side of the house slapped. The gas tank would get slapped, and they loved that meter box on the back of our house for some reason. I was talking to a gentleman about it one time, and he says, "Well, do you have that kind of meter they have to come out and read still, or is it one that they can read from the electric place?" I said, "It's one they can read from the electric place." He said, "It gives off a frequency."
Hmm.
And I had never thought about that, and that
Yeah.
still makes sense once he said that.
Yeah.
Well, Spencer almost didn't get to do the show because Spencer and I got in a deep conversation for us just before the show, and that's what we were talking about. I don't know if some of y'all know Bob Dahl in the chat. He has a show, The Caffeinated Cryptid, and we were just talking one night, not on a live or anything like that, and I was just wondering because the two places we go here, there's absolutely no cell phone coverage at all. And I wonder what the map with no cell phone coverage and the Bigfoot sightings and all that. And he laid it over it. He said, "Oh my God." Now I do know that all those are rural places, right? So, but for the Bigfoot sightings to kind of line up with it, I jokingly said, I wonder if the cell phone towers kind of mess with their vibration or energy or whatever. I don't know, but that's something to keep in your back pocket, right?
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, because there's so much talk in other circles, in the more supernatural woo tinfoil hat kind of stuff about, electromagnetic frequencies, the 3G and 4G, 5G, cell phone towers can affect us and other animals like birds and things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if the towers affected boogers as well.
Yeah,
Well,
I never thought about
I hadn't thought about that, but that's a very valid and good point.
Well, that's why, like, I'm one of those people. If we're having a round table, so to speak, around a fire, I'll say something dumb. If it comes to my mind, I'll say it, even if it's dumb, because it may trigger a good idea. So that's kind of what I was doing, and then he comes out and starts showing me hard data, like, "Oh my God, it lines up almost perfectly," and I'm like, "Okay, so why would that be? What possible? What could do that?" So, man, I was going to say something and I forgot. It was something Scott brought up. About the electric lines.
Yeah.
If any of you've ever been under one of the tower, or even getting close, and you hear that hum, you can feel it. Your hair will stand up. You can feel that energy. I'm scared of electricity.
That's why I mentioned about like deer hunting out there on the mornings when the dew is still there. The dew's on the lines. You can feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We had old man used to climb up to the first cross beam there. I said, "You're stupid.
Brave.
No way I'm trusting this." Um, but that's interesting too, because maybe some energies they may like. Now we're speculating, y'all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So the one reason I feel like they travel train tracks and the power lines is because the clear path out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's as simple as you can get right there. If
Right.
if we wanted to get to, well, you watch Walking Dead, they use the train tracks when they can, you know. If you want to stay, and you can be hidden in just a few feet, unless you get caught in a where there's, you know, bluffs. But
Big open for you.
so that to me is, you know, kind of a no-brainer. But what if the energy has something to do with it too? What if they, now we're getting out there, what if they feed off of it a little bit?
That's what I was thinking. They were using the energy from quartz rock somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I hadn't thought about the power lines or anything.
Well,
Yeah.
we've got some people in chat talk about what if they can use a frequency to affect you. So our body, we know, I think it was Chris earlier was talking about the 432. The 432 is a healing frequency, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And so another thing, we have researchers. Now he's probably going to, I'm not going to say his name. He probably kicked me in the rear end for saying this, but they've experimented with music that are, you know, like some of them are 440 and then the others are 432. And when I looked at the list of 432 frequencies, it's like a playlist for my life, songs that I absolutely love. And this 440 is a little different. And he said, you know, they don't like Led Zeppelin. I'm like, so wait a minute.
They ain't got good taste. I'm teasing.
Let me tell y'all. I think Led Zeppelin, they've got good music and all that, but I've always been creeped out by it. It's almost like you're listening to a scary movie, almost like it puts me back into like times where there's jesters and kings and some of them with the music, and I don't like that. So I kind of shy away from it a little bit. I'm not saying they're not good. And maybe it's something with me that I was rejecting that whatever frequency. I don't know. But here's the problem. Here's what it does to you. Y'all had jobs where you had to be, everything had to be A and then B and then C and then D, and it had to be all lined up and had to be done a certain way because you didn't want to mess it up. And now you get out here and have these experiences, and then you have to question, like, well, what causes this orb or this sound or whatever? I don't think it's a bad thing, because when we start digging, we learn more about ourselves and more about nature, and that helps everything. So that's just my 2 cents.
It does help until, you know, you have no more deniability than everything you thought you knew, had figured out. You can just throw that out the window.
Yeah, that part's gone. Now it's on to the new version.
When Grandma said boogers ain't real, well,
I know. And, you know, so what, did y'all have any local legends from where you grew up when you were young? Did some of the older people ever mention?
Well, I'm from South Georgia. He's from Florida. You know, I've heard my grandma say that 1,000 times about being inside before the lights come on outside, you know, boogers will get you and all that stuff. But, you know, I never thought she was talking about Bigfoot. I don't know what she was talking about, but I mean, I know what I've seen now. I know that part's real.
Right.
When I was real young, down in a little place we used to go to called Old Town, Florida. Some people may know where that's at. It's a pretty swampy region down there in areas of it. You'd hear the old timers down there talk about, they call them wood apes. They talk about, you know, going out back to relieve themselves or something like that. And wood apes was out there or something. Well, I was a youngin' at the time. You know, I figured it was something they was pulling your leg about to keep the youngins from straying off or anything like that. Never paid no attention to that till now.
Yeah.
And right now, the areas that we grew up in, all of us sitting here, are more populated. Yes. I don't think people, I remember my dad pulled up at the edge of Lewisburg. We were coming from Mooresville. It's 5 miles difference. We pulled up. We didn't have a water tower. We had a water tank to set down in a hole. And he said, he pulled over. I don't know why he did it. He said, Roger, look at those hills. look at all of those woods, all these woods you can see. One of these days when I'm gone, that's going to be all houses or businesses or whatever. And I was, 6 or 7 years old. I'm like, nuh-uh.
Mhm.
Now it's
Yeah.
it's everywhere. So
Mhm.
so we talk about why the sightings are going up. I know one reason is because we're more comfortable talking about it, or we found our people. Like, right, if I run up on y'all somewhere in Arizona, I'm gonna be like, hey, y'all want to hang out? You want to go? It ain't necessarily got to be about Bigfoot, but I know we have something in common, so it's a
Right.
trust thing, right?
Mhm.
So we have a situation here where a dam got stopped in the early 80s, and they took all this land from all these people. They would have been multi-millionaires today if the family farms had stayed together, and they were going to build this dam and flood this land for progress, for water supply, for recreation and all that. Well, the second Bigfoot I ever saw was in that land preserve, because they shut the dam down over the snail darter, supposedly. Now they're wanting to get it back up, and they're fighting them. The powers that be don't want it. It's Unali Land Preserve in Murray County, and it touches Marshall County and Giles, I believe Giles. About, I don't know how many thousand acres it is, but I went, what, 30 something years before I ever saw another one, and it was just by chance.
Mhm.
But she was down in this swag, and when I say she looked pregnant, and she was blacker than black, domed head, gray face, gray other parts, right?
Mhm.
So I'm stunned. I'm probably more stunned than anybody that's never seen one, because I never thought it would happen again. And then I got to thinking about it. If they flood all of this area, I've taken so many reports from Yanali Land Preserve. It hit me. Where are they going to go? They're going to
Mhm.
go somewhere.
Yeah.
And if that happens, I expect the sightings, the reports to go up. I will keep everybody updated on that. I don't think they'll finish it. And now with the conspiracy side of it, it's like it wasn't a snail darter all along. They found the boogers, and they didn't want
Probably.
boogers. They didn't want boogers on the square in Columbia. That's what it was.
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. Oh
Now,
my gosh.
I'm being funny, but
Yeah.
you know, so when the habitat goes away,
Right.
I know y'all, Amanda and y'all have some awesome habitat. I mean, I could not keep my eyes on the road, because we saw a movie. It was called Blue Ridge, and it's not a really good movie, but it was filmed in like October. I googled it, and then it was during COVID, and also we went down there just to see. And I don't know of many other places that set up perfect with the water and the ridges and everything that y'all have. So
It is.
it's
Mhm.
It's
beautiful.
beautiful up here. It
Yeah.
really is. And
They call it God's country for a reason.
Yeah. But we do have a lot of people moving in, a
Ooh,
lot.
a lot.
I guess trying to get out of the cities or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of
So
my friends I used to work with, they say, "Well, how do you like living up there?" And first thing I tell them, I say, "Well,
We're full.
yeah." I say, "Well, this is where we used to vacation at, this part of the country all the time."
mhm,
And I say, it's kind of hard to beat living where you always vacation at.
yeah.
Mhm.
And for
Yeah.
us, now for us to vacation, we got to get in because
We don't.
Well, so okay, you almost said something earlier in the show. You talk about other things. What other things are you talking about? You were talking about Bigfoot and all, and you said you experienced other things. Were you talking about the sound, or is there something else y'all think you might have run upon?
just paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And then that time I seen a dog man.
Well, I'm gonna pull a Spencer. I'm gonna pull a Spencer. Hold up. The floor is yours. I did not know this, y'all. So this is
okay.
Well, when I decided what I wanted to be when I grew up, that become a hospice nurse after law enforcement. My dad had cancer, and hospice came in and took care of us. And I said I want to go do that, so I did. So we had a patient out when I was out one night, 10:30, he passed, and I was close to Brasstown Bald. You know where I'm talking about, Amanda.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had that high-rise Jeep, and I was on my way home, and all I could think about, the deer are awful up here, awful, awful. On that dark,
especially right now too.
Yes, on that dark black highway. And so I'm scanning the road, and then from my left, something moves. I mean, just it happened so fast. From my left, and then it was in the middle on the yellow line. It was on all fours. This thing was huge, and it was like blacker than the night, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked to me like the outline I saw like a huge, huge canine, like a
Narwhal.
no, German Shepherd.
No, German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. It hit that middle line, and then there was a ridge on the other side of the road that like a 45-degree angle. It stuck that thing about middle ways up, and it went up so fast. And all I could think about was every dogman werewolf story I'd ever heard, how they try to wreck you, try to cause you to stop. Now, that's probably my second most scary account. And I had no signal. I had the thing. I was flying trying to get a signal. I called Scott and told him what had happened, and I took him back to that location the next day.
The next morning.
The exact location. And we found these huge prints where it went right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She got me back over there and told me it happened right here. And she said it hit right there. And you can see the marks in the side of that ridge from the road. We get over there to it. And I've seen wolf tracks. And these canine tracks were the biggest canine tracks I've ever seen. I mean, they were absolutely huge, but they were shaped funny. Where their center pad was, or should have been the normal center pad, was elongated to a heel, to a point, and it got narrower and narrower as it went down. And when I was looking at that, I said, well, that's just where his paw hit, in the back of his knee. He drug it when he went up. I get up to the next one, and Sheila's telling me, don't crawl up there. And naturally, I crawl on up there. And the next one I get to is the same way. And when I get to the top of the ridge right there, it's sand, but it's hard packed. And the tracks were the same right through there. There wasn't enough sand up there to be able to cast anything. But I wish I had took better pictures.
Yeah, we've got pictures. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it was a dog man. I don't know if it was a werewolf. It could have been a dire wolf, but I know it wasn't no bear. I know it wasn't a panther.
Yeah, those weren't bear tracks by no means.
If you had to guess or visualize, how big can you make a description of how long that footprint was?
Probably.
You have to show them, put your hand up.
No, you're fine.
So
about right.
About middle.
I'd say
Do you remember how many toes it had?
Yeah,
4.
that's a good question.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
I've got pictures. I don't know if they're on TikTok. I don't know if they are.
We've recently we have a guest coming on later in a month or whatever, and she sent us pictures, and then I sent them to Kumbo, and he's like, those are dog man. He said, it's like a juvenile, but it's kind of odd. I know in the LBL and Red Hollow, y'all know where that's at.
Mm-hmm.
When I found all those tracks that day, the first track I found on the way out there was like you said, the biggest canine track I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I always tell people, an 8-inch iron skillet for cornbread.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the mud and everything, but there was a appendage coming off the back of it that didn't make sense. And so this has already got me like scared because I'm out here by myself, 80 yards from the truck, so that's what got me juiced up first. And I'm like, you can hear me on the video. It's so stupid. Like people, why didn't you get a picture of it? Or why didn't you? And I'm like, I don't know. I was scared. And you can hear me say, oh, do they have wolves here? And the next year is when I saw the big white wolf. And when you try to tell people 150 to 175 pounds, that's a massive dog.
Yes, it is.
So, but anyway, I don't want, oh Lord, y'all, I didn't want to believe that stuff.
Right.
But the more evidence we see, we know it's not a Bigfoot, right?
Bigfoot.
What is it? And we got Hellbent Holler in here. It's probably Joe, I'm thinking. I don't know. It might be Jesse, but they've been the LBO more than I have for sure. Yeah, with man, I'm telling you,
It was huge.
yeah. That's the thing. Even with this, I say this a lot. When you find tracks, when you hear something, it's the size that's what gives it away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can hear something big, regular walking when Scott could come walking up a trail. I may not hear him, but a Bigfoot comes walking up that same trail behind me. I'm going to hear the foot hitting the ground,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
that's scary. That's
That's the best thing. That's my most favorite thing when we're camping. I'm telling you, we've done quite a bit of
It's there.
tent camping, but the first time I ever heard that, it'll wake you up from a dead sleep. Just my eyes wide because you hear boom,
Yep.
boom.
Mhm.
It's the percussion.
yeah.
And
It-
when people on chat there wondered, because somebody said it must have been huge. That Jeep she had was running on 35-inch tires with a 4-inch lift, 4-door JL
Mhm.
Jeep. So it was pretty high.
I couldn't get in it.
Yeah. you had to have step to get in it.
But what about the opposite, guys? Have y'all ever had an activity or one sneak up on you without making any sound? Because I know I
Yes.
hear that from other
Yes,
people
and
as well.
that's another thing. How do they do that? How do they turn that off and on? Where do the tracks?
Right.
Where did the sound go? Yeah, the smell. Why didn't I smell anything that day? I've seen one, but other times we've smelled stuff so bad it would just make your eyes water.
Oh my
Mhm.
God. That's what
Yeah,
Greg was talking about this weekend. He said he was sitting still over there and they were doing some bush hogging. He was inside the truck. He said the stench come in the truck and he had the classic booger smell. And he said it was so bad his eyes was watering. He's had to
Yeah.
wipe his
Mhm.
eyes.
And,
That's
I mean,
strong.
talking about, something slipping up on you like that. We had a group out one evening, and that particular evening right there is probably the best sleep I've ever had in the woods
Hmm.
because I was so tired when we finally got back. I went to the top of that mountain like, 3 times?
Something like that. Yeah, 3 or 4
But-
times.
We run into that smell going up the trail with a hiking group, and we get up there the first time. We've got a gentleman with us, and he's actually part of our team now. But he was out like with everyone else, glassing around with thermals and night vision, things like that. And he got popped on the leg. Well, I had been at this area the day before, and where he was standing at, there was a game trail right there. Typical game trail, 1.5 feet wide, vegetation on each side about 3 foot tall. Nothing out of the ordinary. But that's where he was standing. And I was about 15 yards away from him, and he got popped loud enough I could hear it.
Oh, wow.
And when he got popped, he spun around. My immediate reaction, I thought he was snake bit. I mean, the way he spun around and the loudness of it. And I get to him. We pull his britches leg up, make sure he don't have a snake mark on him. And he doesn't. And I'm thinking to myself, darn, that was a loud pop. I'm thinking this to myself. And we ease over where he was at. And I was really hoping he had stepped on a limb or something that flipped up and hit him.
Hmm.
There wasn't any sticks, any limbs over there, no rocks right there. Nothing got thrown and hit him or anything. And I happened to look over at that game trail, and all the vegetation on both sides of this game trail for 1.5 feet on each side is pressed to the ground. I mean,
Oh, wow.
for as far off that ridge as I could look with a good headlamp. And that's when I made that decision. Let's ease everybody off this right here, because that particular evening we had already saw one across the way from us through thermal. Matter of fact, the guy that's in the picture behind Sheila with a flashlight, he was the one that saw it standing up there through thermal.
Yeah, that was his
That was his first.
That was his first.
Yeah.
He had no more deniability. He was so quiet that night. I asked
He
him, I said,
was.
why are you so quiet afterwards? He said, I'm just trying to absorb everything.
Trying to wrap your head around it. Exactly.
It's literally a life-changing thing for sure.
It really is. And we had smells in 3 different areas. I think it's 3 different areas on the way up. And you would run into that smell. It was like you run into a wall. Go about 3 foot and it was gone. Not like a skunk smell or anything like that where it lingers for yards and yards and yards. This was, you run into it, it was right there, 3 feet, you're out of it, you don't smell it no more.
But it was moving.
Yeah. On our way back the second time we run into the smell, I got to marking the spots where at this particular is where we smell the smell.
Mhm.
When that group come down, we run into the same amount of smells, but they were in different locations.
Mm.
We think it was crossing behind us.
And we get back down, everybody's telling about the smells and everything that they've just had the opportunity to encounter. Well, I wound up going back up the top of that mountain 2 more times with different groups so everybody could smell that smell. And it's needless to say, when I got back that night, I bedded down pretty good.
He was done wore out.
I wonder, if you know how you cook in the home and that your grease will get up on some things on the shelves and all that. I wonder if there's some kind of filter you could carry with you I know this sounds stupid, but to capture whatever is in the air that makes that smell.
I don't know, but that's one of those smells right there. I just don't want to drag around with me.
I've heard.
Right.
I had something go behind me one morning. It's still dark. The wind was hitting me in the back of the head, and we were deer hunting. I was down in a swag. I figured nothing could get to me there without me knowing it. And like Sheila said, it took me a second to realize it was moving because it wasn't there for 30 minutes. All of a sudden it's there for a few seconds and then it's gone. And I'm thinking, man, I done sat down in front of a dead cow or something. But the difference was when people talk about a death smell, it didn't smell like death to me. It smelled like something that had hair and hadn't been washed and it was decaying under it. Like you know what I mean? I don't know if y'all have ever smelt that.
Mhm.
And it was different. Some people smell a sulfurish smell with it. That's when I always say use all your senses. And I got on the radio and told my son, I said, you got something moving to you and it stinks to high heaven. So be careful. But
Wow.
Yeah, the difference, and in that smell that's associated with these things, my personal belief is I believe that they can emit it when they want to.
Mhm.
that makes sense.
I
I
think
agree with you.
I can't swear to that, but I believe that.
Well, from hunting, a lot of your pungent smells come from glands and, your animals that can produce smells to run you off. That's what it is. And then like, I people, in chat that may not ever hunt it. If Scott and I were hunting somewhere and the wind was coming to us and a doe walked by, and we didn't see it, we probably could tell you it was a doe. But if old buck and rut comes by, we're going to say,
You know it.
head up, it. It's a different smell.
Mhm.
And it's similar to a cow. But it's not as strong. It's stronger than,
If he's in rut, it is.
yeah.
That's like old boar hog. When one of them things they're rugged.
I don't be after I saw what billy goats do. I don't even be in the same county.
Look, one of the smelliest things
Oh
ever
my
is
God! I
billy
finally
goat
figured out
and
how they
rut.
got that
Ugh.
smell, and I'm like,
Yep.
So y'all, I don't want to keep y'all too long, but I want to show a few pictures here. I definitely want to show people your business, and
That's great.
that kind of got started. I was watching the documentary. Y'all were talking about it, and I know Scott. You retired and you wanted to do the fly fishing thing. So did the encounters that you were having while fly fishing kind of spur this idea?
No, not while I was fly fishing. What spurred this idea was really Sheila wanted to go off on one of these expeditions. I mean, and when I joke about it and say, she drugged me into this, and she literally did. But so I agreed to go with her on that first one. I'm thinking to myself, happy wife, happy husband. All that.
Exactly. Oh, I agree.
That's right. And you can tell old fat boy ain't missed no meal. So
That's the number one rule. Y'all.
But I went off with her on that, and I'm glad I did, because we got to hear some things and see some things that made me open my eyes and say, there might be a little something to this. And we continued on with it a little bit more. That track right there was a awesome find.
Yeah.
But
It is a good one.
we continued on with this right here, and we done a lot more things with it, and we seen how the direction some things were going, what we were doing, and we sit back and we talked it over and said, we could actually do this and make it where it's affordable that anybody that wants to do it could do it. So, and we did. We crunched numbers and we got it all worked down to where, anybody that wants to can. And I've been in the fly fishing game for a pretty good while, and I started guiding fly fishing. And we got to thinking about, we wanted to kind of incorporate those two together, to do something. And so then comes the thing of naming it. Sheila spins around and said, well, let's just call it Squatch-Fishing Outfitters. Right off the bat, and then that's how the name and all stuff.
Well, we had to get a permit, so might as well just get one,
Lord.
Not two.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. Smart. Very smart thinking.
But and that's a story within itself about getting permits.
It took us a year and a half to finally get permits, and we just figured we'd be laughed out of the office, when Scott went up there to tell them what we wanted permits for.
They wasn't a smile in the room. Nobody laughed. They just said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do.
That's
But they probably talked about you when you left. That's what happens in small towns.
They
Usually how that goes.
But
They
you'll
usually
have
think you're crazy.
it's surprising how sometimes there may be one or two people in that office that may come to you later and like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say nothing, but this happened to us. So
Mhm.
and so y'all, I'm sure you wear your merch with your name on it and Squatch fishing and all that. How many stories have you heard just for people approaching and asking about it?
Oh, I've heard stories like being a hospice nurse, people telling me their deathbed stories. I thought, I think that's the most awesome thing. They wouldn't tell anybody else, but once they find out from somebody else what you do, they get so excited to tell you. And then, like I said, we've run into people in stores and say, y'all really believe in Bigfoot? Are y'all crazy? Give them about 5 minutes and they'll go, well, this one time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it starts.
And
it always starts like that. Yep.
A lot more than you would think.
Well, and a lot of us, my age and a little older, a little younger, we grew up not talking about it. So it's kind of tough. I have mentioned it or people have asked me about it and I see the looks, the sideways looks, but if I'm talking to somebody that's got a good story, I don't care. I'll sit there and listen to it or like, hey, let's go over here. And I tell Amanda and Ashley and people, the young people all the time, y'all have it so much better than we did because I know early on it wasn't easy to talk about, but with my son has had a lot of stuff happen, even when I hadn't been there. But he doesn't talk about it. And he's not that type of person. If we sat down at a table, he would tell you he'll get on a show every now and then, but he doesn't care about, he told me, he said, Daddy, the stuff that's happened to us while we've been together, I know they're real. He said, I want to see one time and I don't want to hear about them ever the rest of my life. He said, I just want that one confirmation and then I'm done with it. I'm like, been several times. He said, I'm not going back there with you again. So, but
our kids thought we were absolutely, stone crazy, nuts.
Yeah.
And, but after they've been up here,
they won't go outside.
They won't go outside dark up here anymore.
They don't think you're too crazy no more now, do they?
They're not crazy now.
Probably the best one for me was my baby brother. He asked me about it and he said, now, Scotty, he says, you are a military trained, retired law enforcement officer. He said, you mean tell me you believe in this stuff? And I told him, I said, yes, I do. I've actually seen them. He spent the weekend with us up here one weekend. And he left here. He's a believer now. He's not a knower. He hasn't seen one, but he's heard them.
Yeah.
And that changed his whole attitude.
The activity will pick up around here when the grandkids come. I don't, I know why, but it'll pick up.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I know people, they want hard evidence, and and I understand that. But I wanted to do this show to learn more and talk to people, and for the new people that are coming in, I want to say this again. We're so far past are they real? Because everybody I have on and will have on in the future have had either terrifying experiences or they live in an area with them, or we're it's we're not. I mean, it's one of the hardest things to do. I mean, if you told me to go um, take pictures of something in Idaho that's rare, it's going to be hard. The equipment is expensive. The people that want us to go get loans at the bank to buy this expensive equipment just to get a picture that they'll believe, I don't feel like I owe that person anything. The person that wants to get in and help me and say, "Hey, let's go do this. I have something on my place. Let's look at it. You tell me what you might be." That's okay. But I feel sorry. I kind of envy the ones that don't know, and I kind of feel sorry for them also, because when it does hit, it's going to be
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
going
No,
to be
Mhm.
traumatic, even though they don't know it.
Yeah.
It's going to be traumatic when somebody they trust, whether it's some kind of organization that says it, and they have pictures, or they're like, "Oh, we've known for 100 years or 200 years."
Mm-hmm.
Just think of the trauma that they're going to go through because this monster in their mind just became real. So
Yeah.
I always say it's going to be people like y'all, people like us, people like in the chat that's going to have to help those people when it does
Yeah.
come.
And you're probably right. Yeah. And that's like with us. We're not out to try to prove anything
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
that something's real that we already know is real or anything like that. We mainly do all this for our own selves.
We
You
do
know,
it.
for questions.
But when we started, we knew we were looking for answers, but we wanted to help people that had questions like us,
Yeah.
and that wanted to be with a like-minded group, that they could talk freely. Because when we get
Mhm.
around the campfire and people start talking, it is awesome. I mean, they
It
have
is.
all these questions, or somebody's seen this and somebody's seen that. That's the best time.
And then you get to hear everybody's theories too.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
and I saw a question on, I try to follow a lot of Facebook Bigfoot pages and stuff. And I saw a question a couple days ago. This lady asked, "Are there any Bigfoot support groups?" And I'm thinking that's kind of what we are.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get involved in the conversation, but um, there are a lot of people, and I know people personally that's been with us that had some scary stuff happen. Absolutely would not talk about it, would not admit to it. But at the LBL trip that y'all were at, that we were at, my son's girlfriend at the time would not talk about it. But when she was there around all the people that believed,
Mhm.
it came out and she started blabbing to Spencer, and it was just purging out, and she was going through it, and we were looking at each other, and I told him later, I said, "I can't get her to talk about it. That was amazing."
Mhm.
But she
Yeah.
was there. Nobody was going to judge her. She said it
Right.
was absolutely the loudest and scariest sound I ever heard. And it jumped out behind us. We heard it behind us. And of course, she ran to the truck and locked Peyton out. So that's why I tell everybody carry another set of keys or another fob. So she wouldn't go back with us. And she heard other things. But the point I'm getting to is the setting, like you said, the like-minded people. People would talk about way more than they will when you put a camera in their face.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think part of what y'all are doing, it probably wasn't planned on, but it's a good thing. It's a good side effect of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I feel like the shows are. I feel like us getting together and talk like we're talking calmly, and people like, "Well, you just saw Bigfoot and you were so calm." Well, you're not calm at the time.
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
That's
No.
what one of my former deputy friends. Somebody scared him with a rubber snake inside the book that they booked in the people coming in. It was pretty
Mhm.
big and gray, log book. And when he opened, I didn't know he was so afraid of snakes. When he turned green immediately, and then he just stood there looking at the snake. Then all of a sudden, I don't know, delayed reaction, 15 seconds, he starts running backwards and goes out, falls down the steps and out the door. And everybody left laughing, left me with him. He's mad. And I'm like, Troy, I said, you know, man, I thought you died of a heart attack and you were sitting still. He said, oh, trust me, I was running like hell inside.
His feet just ain't caught up yet.
Yeah. It just, you know, and I'm not going to say that I might have put that in there, but they tricked me because I was young and they're like, hey, put that in. I didn't know. So, but yeah, thanks for coming and having a sit down, because we always talk about, Amanda and Ashley and I are like, we want to do this like we're sitting on the porch talking.
Yeah.
There's no,
Mhm.
we don't have no pyrotechnics. We got a pyromedic in here in the chat, but I think people need to see that calmness and just the facts. I mean, this is what we've done. I don't care if you believe me or not, but if you're somebody that's in chat and Scott and Sheila told a story tonight, or you're in their area, reach out to them.
Please.
Yeah, please.
Because
Yeah, if anybody's got, around our area or anywhere, they have a story they want to tell somebody, we'd be glad to listen.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it's if you're, I've listened to so many stories and they have questions, and if I do have an answer, I'll give it. But just listening to them helps, and you know, Amanda has directed people to other people that could help them in their region.
Mhm.
So yeah, reach out to us with email, and if we don't know the answers, we might know somebody that does. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
A lot
definitely.
of people just want verification they're not crazy. We've had people contact us and we
Yes.
went to their property to verify, what evidence they have or what we see, and just makes them feel better knowing that, okay, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
well,
And one of the other things that we really love about, what we do is you get the different people there at these expeditions and outings and everything, and they get together, and a lot of them leave from
Friends,
there, as
yeah.
friends, lifelong friends from then on.
Yep.
yeah,
And-
absolutely. I've got people that I didn't know 3 years ago before I had a show.
Mhm.
I've got people right now that I consider better than family.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
Same.
But I can, we can call each other up. I can ask questions. We know a lot of the same people. If I have a question, let's say somebody asks me, they're from Pennsylvania and they're like, hey, do you know anything about this? No, Mary does. Contact her on Facebook or whatever. So I feel like it's the network that we didn't build it. We just became a part of it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're the people that we hang with, there are no egos. So, and what you said earlier, I don't even want to be the one that, can you imagine if you had the evidence that actually proved that this thing was real, and then you're gonna have people in agencies that are mad at you. Then you have people like, oh, I need to talk to him, and they'll be out here on your porch.
Yep.
Mhm.
I don't
Gonna
don't
have
want that.
every alphabet agency you can think
Right,
of in your driveway.
Yeah.
I don't want no part of that.
All
Well,
kind of
You'll
auditing.
You'll get to
going
learn some new
on,
ones,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Right?
You wake up one morning, your door will be kicked down. You won't have a laptop. You won't have your
Yeah.
cell phone to be gone, or it'd be
Yep.
fried by an EMP or something.
That's right.
Put my tin hat on, or my tin
It's like
hat.
Men in
Believe it
Black.
or not, you've heard stories of this. True story.
Actually, we
Y'all, we have. We
Me
actually
too.
have. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
More that.
The
no
first
need-
thing they'll tell you if you get something amazing, and I've seen some amazing stuff, and like, you better get some thumb drives and spread them things out across the state.
Yeah.
Do a
Mhm.
Faraday cage or something.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. I've got, I won't get into that. I've got stuff for that too. But anyway, thank y'all so much. I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to you more at the LBL. I appreciate y'all. Sorry it took so long, but everything happens for a reason.
That's right.
Mhm.
Our audience is bigger now, and we appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all.
We're looking forward to that next.
Y'all come
greet
go
at the
with us.
LBL, and
Yeah.
y'all get the opportunity, Roger. Y'all get over this way. Come go with us.
I think that's in the plans.
That
I
was
love
Greg being quiet all night, sitting here listening. Big love to everyone. Amanda, you got any final questions for your neighbors there?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Just thank y'all for coming on and sitting on the porch and jabbing with us and sharing what y'all got going on. And hopefully, folks here in the chat could learn something from you guys, because I know we picked up I'm saying all three of us because we're all three little bubbles here. All four of us here, all got some interesting thoughts going. Just sitting here jabbing tonight for sure.
Yeah. And any thought we throw or one of us throws out there in chat, if y'all want to dig into it and let us know later what you find out, please do.
Yes, please do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good weekend, and we will see everybody next Thursday night.
All right.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Well,
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.